Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man. I've breathed the mountain air, man. I've traveled, I've had my share, man. I've been everywhere. Been to Tullamore, Seymour, Lismore, Mooloolaba, Nambour, Roochdore, Kilmore, Marillaba, Birdsville, Emmaville, Wallaville, Connemara, Connemara, Strathround, Proserpine, Alladala, Darwin, Gingin, Lilliquin, Muckdilla, Wallumbilla, Bougainville, Cumberland, Ramakiller. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Across the deserts bare, man.
Lucky Star, he's a mob. He's a mate of the blokes. It is 10 to 11, and Rob, we are heading up the Pacific Highway today. Who have we got on the line?
We have got Kerry Grace on the line. She's at Macksville, and it's got a really cool name. But, hey, Kerry, where the hell is Macksville?
Halfway between Sydney and Brisbane. That's the best way to describe it.
And on the Pacific Highway, as it were?
Once upon a time, I'm sure a lot of your listeners have been caught in a traffic jam there, but I'm pleased to say it is now bypassed.
It's not a bad part of the world. Spent some time up there a few years ago, and it's pretty and lovely. Port Macquarie was a place I liked a lot, and you're probably not too far away from there. But I suppose being halfway, not so much touristy, but a lot of travellers would be dropping in for something to eat and a bit of fuel, so it'd be a busy little village.
It is reasonably busy, yeah. It's interesting. I think the northern rivers have obviously had a lot of natural disasters, sadly, in recent times as well, but still quite busy. I was up there a little while ago. But Macksville and the Nambucca Valley more broadly is just, I guess, being discovered by families as well, and it's a really gorgeous place to have a family holiday.
You work in sort of a corporate-y world, and this work-from-home phenomenon down here certainly means that people are more than happy to head out of the big smoke, find a smaller little country location, set up camp, and still be very productive. Maybe have to travel to a capital city or a bigger place a couple of days a week. Is the mood up there pretty similar? Yeah,
we've had a lot of tree changes during COVID period. It's funny, I used to drive 100 kilometres each way to my office every day until I convinced my previous board that it might be a good idea that we actually set up a more flexible arrangement with some home working as well, and that was pre-COVID. So we were ready to go when COVID happened. And, I just think it's better for people as well to be working from home. And we know in our region there's a lot of tree changers that are still operating as city jobs but living in the much more beautiful surrounds of the mid-north coast.
We call them G-changers down here. They go to G-town, Geelong. So suppose we have some people listening, and we hope we do. Suppose we have some people listening and they go, you know what, this Macksville place seems like an ideal distance away from Geelong to get away for a holiday. What are people going to do if they bring along their 8 and 13-year-olds?
Oh, 8 and 13, that's very specific.
I just plucked those numbers out of the air for no particular reason.
So I'm thinking you're probably going to stay in Coffs Harbour or Port Macquarie, or you might want to stay around Nambucca Heads. There's accommodation there, or if you're looking for a caravan park, there's several, but you're going to need to book about 6 months to a year in advance for that. And then you'll take a day trip down to the Nambucca Valley and go to Barraville as the first point of call. And out in Barraville, you'll look for the Folk Museum, which is a really cool little place, and the kids can really get hands-on with some of the old-time... They've even got an old-time retail cash... I don't even know what you call it. The people in the sales desk used to put the cash in a tin, and it went on a zip line up to the person that was sitting upstairs.
Yep.
I don't know what the name for that is, but you can see it at Barraville Museum. And there's another museum there as well, the Military Museum. And then if it's a nice day, you might want to pop out to the beaches or the rivers and have a swim in the river as well. Grab some seafood at the seafood shop and eat it next to the river. Or there's a lot of shops popping up now around the Macksville area, so there's a great little department store in there with 30 different local artists all on display. And if you're really clever, you might even find the MacNuts warehouse and retail store, which is just outside of Macksville as well.
I'm concerned that, though, if you went to one of those seafood stores and got yourself something to eat, they would want to flog you potato scallops rather than potato cakes like normal people call them.
You know what, though? The seafood shop here doesn't sell any of the hot stuff, just the seafood. And they make a magnificent smoked fish as well.
I've never smoked fish. I find the cigarette paper gets wet. Thank you. Working beautifully.
Kerry, as we go through Australian history, people's names come up, whether it be business or sport or entertainment, and they usually come from obscure little places. What's the most famous human export from Macksville that you know of?
Well, I have mentioned before that there are a couple of quite famous sports stars. Greg Inglis is from Macksville.
All right.
And the sadly departed Philip Hughes is also from Macksville. But I want to put forward the name Tasman Keith. And Tasman is he's a rap and Indigenous
I've seen his work, yes.
You have? Excellent. That's excellent. Oh, look, he's really great. And, doing some amazing things for his community as well, which is really admirable. I know he's been teaching the kids in local school how to use the equipment that he requires for rapping, etc., and doing a lot of shows locally, which is also really cool.
Yeah, Jessica Malboy and Tasman Keith joined Midnight Oil recently on a new release, and saw his work in the video clip, and I've followed him up with interest because I hadn't heard the name before. And yes, he's certainly a very strong up-and-coming Australian performer.
Isn't he? And fancy that on stage with those music icons one day, and back at Barraville Central School teaching kids the next. It's pretty admirable.
And the really good thing is, once we finish having a chat to you, Kerry, to finish the program off, Rob's going to actually just whistle one of Tasman's better known tunes for us.
Oh, he does that stuff I'm not really keen on. You know that
rap.
Yeah.
Only thing missing is the letter C on my money, but that's okay.
No, it worked. It worked well in this particular production. It was a nice little fit. I think when the two blend, it blends well. But he's doing some pretty good stuff. I want to talk to you about something else about the sea change, tree change thing, and that is the advent of Zoom. We had a conversation with a very famous gentleman this week, and an 80-year-old man talking about the horror of Zoom because it takes away the human interaction. Do you find that a downside in your world, working that where you don't have that human connection?
Look, I've been using Zoom a lot longer than COVID. And for me, because I've been living back in the regions for just on 20 years now, having that access to digital communications was absolutely imperative, because it meant that I could continue to build not only a national but an international work network, which would be very difficult without Zoom. So if it was just email that I was relying on, or tweets or something like that, it's quite hard to build the connection. And I think I know that people do say there's nothing like a face-to-face cup of coffee and meeting, and I do agree with that. But I think once you've met a person face-to-face, you can continue the relationship via Zoom. And I've got people that I've actually never met face-to-face. A great colleague who, Deke, was the mayor of Augusta, and we've only ever met on Zoom. And yeah, I think it's actually fine.
If you're talking about the Augusta that I think you're talking about in southwest WA, it's unlikely you'll run into one another in the Star Hotel in Macksville.
Yeah, and I'm actually talking about the US.
Oh, okay, that one. Okay, fair enough. Kerry, we need to wind up because we've got another program starting very soon. But thanks for taking some time out of your Saturday morning shopping activities to chat to us here on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. We'll see you in Macksville one day.
That will be good.
Thank you so much, Kerry.
Kerry Grace there from Macksville.